With everything that is going on in the nation and the nations of the world, with policy changes, civil unrest trying to rise, violence, the enemy has attempted to create a perfect storm through world events to have a negative impact on you. And so today we're going to talk about how to exercise authority over the perfect storm. So let somebody know that we are live, because here we go. People are struggling and looking for answers. God has given you the solution and has called you to leadership. Now it's time to grow and prepare while learning how to use your gift.
Every gift that's been placed in you that's been sitting dormant is not going to be dormant anymore. So you have to know for certain something is going to happen because you showed up. God is waiting on some of you to say something and do something for the miraculous to be manifested through. Because he will put you in a conflict zone because he has equipped you to overcome the conflict and bring peace.
Prepare to be ignited, to lead like a champion. Well, hello, everybody. Hello. If I'm coming up in your feed for the first time, thank you for watching. My name is Jamal Maxsam. I am an igniter. My assignment is to ignite believers to operate in the miraculous as they lead from their faith. And so today we're talking about exercising authority over the perfect storm. So I want to give a shout out really quick to Sandra and Rita and others who are watching live. Once you comment, your name will pop up and I'll be able to give you a shout out in real time. If you're watching the replay through the video podcast on the various platforms, make sure you put hashtag replay. Hey, Coach Paul, my man, it's so great to see you. And so today we're talking about authority over the perfect storm. We know that a perfect storm occurs when there's a rare combination of events or factors that create an unusually intense or disastrous situation. You know, it's used metaphorically. This term is used to describe weather conditions when they talk about a perfect storm. But I believe the enemy has been trying to create a perfect storm. You know, what's going on in the nation with wars, with policy changes, with economic predictions and things we're seeing with the economy, with viruses, with civil unrest and violence. And then we see the enemy attempting to do a perfect storm in the nation as well as in our cities. There was something that happened over the weekend here in the Cincinnati area. Also, I want you to recognize that the enemy tries to create a perfect storm in your life. He would try to attack you in your business. He would try to attack you in the place where you're leading. He would try to attack you in your family and your finances. He would try to attack you in your home, all at the same time, to create a perfect storm, to try to create a disastrous situation, to overwhelm you and to get you to break and fold under pressure. And so, but Jesus tells us what to do and how to handle perfect storms. He tells us what to do and how to handle any and every storm that comes our way. Because the storms of life will come. The Bible says that the wind will beat upon the house, but it stands the one that's founded upon the rock, which is the word of God, revelation of Jesus. That is what causes us to stand. It is what we know about God. It is our faith in God that causes us to stand. And I want to show you really quick, what does that look like? So that you are not moved by what's happening in the culture. So you're not moved by the executive orders, or you're not moved by the economic situations or the false prophets and all of those things, because there's so much happening that it can look like the enemy is winning, but he's not. What you see is a tantrum from the enemy and a distraction, because Jesus is winning and he has already won, because the victory has already been given to Christ. And so I want to talk to you about from an incident that happened in Matthew chapter 14, and it's around verse 22. We know this is when Peter walked on water. We've heard multiple people teach this. And so I want to talk to you about it from the lens of what the Lord is speaking to us about authority over the perfect storm and how we exercise that authority and that dominion. because Jesus had told his disciples to go into the boat, to go ahead of him to the other side of this body of water where they were. And it was after he had fed some, I believe it might have been 5,000 or 4,000 people supernaturally. So Jesus had just done something supernatural. He puts them on the boat and said, go over to the other side. He sends them ahead of him. And and it says the boat was already a long distance from the land, and it was battered by waves because the wind was contrary. It's just like Jesus to send us into spaces when everything seems contrary to what God has said. Sometimes you will get a prophetic word, and it seems like life is contrary to that word. Or it seems like things will be going fine until you get that word, then things appear to be contrary. There are times when life circumstances may look contradictory to the promise of God in your life. And this is what was happening to them. The wind was contrary, their boats were battered by waves. And then it says that they looked up and saw Jesus walking on the sea, and they were terrified, where they became afraid because they saw Jesus doing something that hadn't been done before by someone in the flesh, by a person. Because it says they were terrified, and they said it is a ghost, and they cried out in fear. They saw Jesus doing something that only a spirit being had done, and so they got fearful. Now, I'm going to tell you, in the middle of life storms, Jesus may require you to do something that no one has ever done before. He may give you a strategy. He may give you direction to do something that may be contrary to common sense, but it may be an illogical instruction that produces supernatural results. And so Jesus is walking on the water, and then they got fearful at what they saw. And it says, but immediately Jesus spoke to them, saying, take courage, it's I, don't be afraid. You have to know when you see God moving in a way that's differently than how you've seen him move in the past, you cannot be fearful or afraid. You have to be encouraged when you know it is Jesus moving in your situation and through you in the situation. And so Peter says this, and I love this about Peter. It was always go time for him. He said, look, Lord, if it's you, tell me to come on. And so Jesus gave the word and said, come. Now that word come was all that was needed, because in that one word was the authority, the power, and the ability for now Peter to join Jesus in doing something miraculous. See, all you need is one word from God. You don't have to have a sentence. You don't have to have a notebook full of words. You just need one word from God. And in that one word is the power and the capacity to do the miraculous. The word come created the supernatural ability for Peter to now walk on water. And Peter responded in faith by getting out of the boat. See, in the storms of life, when you hear God speak the word, your faith response is what allows that word to manifest in your life. And so Peter got out after the word come. It wasn't come, my child. It wasn't come on. It wasn't anything. It was come. And Peter responded to the one word and saw the miraculous. And it says Peter walked on the water and came toward Jesus. Now I'm telling you, God is going to call you to do something you've never done before with him. And so now Peter is walking on water. Now Peter is doing something that no one else has ever done but Jesus. I want you to see that. And then, so now Peter's walking on the water, but it says, seeing the wind, he became frightened. Now, a lot of people will say, he got his focus off Jesus, and that's why he began to sink. But I want you to be very clear in that verse. It says, seeing the wind, he became frightened. It wasn't what he saw. It was his response to what he saw. See, the storms of life would try to get you in a place of fear and anxiety, and that place, that posture will move you from operating in the miraculous. So, because Peter saw the wind and the waves when Jesus was walking on it. And the wind and the waves were still there when Peter said, if it's you, tell me to come. But the issue was, while he was walking and he still saw these things, he allowed what he saw to change his posture. When you are dealing with storms of life, when you're dealing with a perfect storm where it seems like all hell is broken loose around you, because it has, you have to recognize that as you are walking out the word that God has given you, you cannot allow what you see to move you. You can't be moved by what you see. You can only be moved by the word that the Lord has spoken to you. And so because he became frightened, he began to sink, but he did the right thing. He cried out. And it says, immediately the Lord stretched out his hand, took him, and said to him, you of little faith, why did you doubt? Meaning he was operating in faith, but then what that posture of fear caused him to have doubt. As you are walking through what God has called you to walk through, as you are walking on the water, treading above the storms, you have to know that you cannot doubt. You cannot allow doubt to enter into your heart, because it would change your posture from operating in the supernatural to operating in the natural. Doubt will remove you from the dimension of the miraculous and have you operating in the natural. And notice, once Peter stopped operating in the supernatural, he had to cry out, which was a good thing. He cried out to Jesus for help, and Jesus helped him. But imagine if he would not have changed his posture. Imagine if he would not have doubted. Imagine if he would not have feared. He would have continued to walk in the miraculous with Jesus. I want you to see that. Now, that is one of the ways that the Lord gives us to exercise authority over the storms. We receive a word, we operate in faith, we operate in the miraculous with him, walking on the water. Because notice in that same verse, it says the minute they got into the boat, the wind stopped. See, the minute you walk with Jesus in some things, something stops and shifts and changes. Now, the other way, really quick, so I got 2 minutes. The other way that the Lord gives us to exercise authority over perfect storms and the storms of life, because these things come in multiple ways at the same time, we see in Mark 4:35 through 41. It's the same thing. Jesus tells them, let's go to the other side. It's very interesting when Jesus asks you to go somewhere, it tells you to go somewhere, storms happen. Because the same time, now this incident, he says, let's go to the other side. Now, they were all in boats and they were crossing over, and the same thing happened. There was a fierce gale of wind and waves were breaking over the boat, so much that this boat was filling up with water. Jesus was asleep. Now we see the posture of Jesus of rest and trust in the Father. See, in these storms, you have to maintain the posture of rest and the posture of trust in God. And then it says this, they asked Jesus, they said, do you care for it perishing? Jesus gets up, rebukes the wind, and speaks to the sea and says, peace, or hush, be still. And it died down and became perfectly calm. See, one of the things is this, as you are hearing the word and responding to the word that God gives you, you may also have to speak to some things. While the disciples came to Jesus and said, do you care? That's just like believers praying, saying, God, fix this, God, move in this situation. There are times when you have to distinguish between what you petition God to do and what you must do as the believer with authority. You must speak to that storm and command it to cease. You must speak to the spirit that tries to attack you and arrest it. You must speak to the family members, the spirit that's motivating the family members. You must speak to the thing that's attacking you in your business or attacking your career. You must speak to that spirit and exercise authority, which is what Jesus demonstrated in Mark 4 when he spoke to the wind and he spoke to the storm. Now, I'm saying this has a dual meaning because some people will say it was, it's hypothetical about speaking to storms. Yes, that's true. That is a meaning, and that's the meaning I'm pulling out today. But this also means you can speak to something physically. You have authority over nature. You can speak to physical things and cause something to happen if you do it in faith without doubting. And so you have to speak to something. Now, the funny thing is this. is that they were amazed at Jesus, at what he did. They said, "What manner of person is this, that even wind and waves obey him?" But the thing is this: you have to know what manner of person you are, so that wind and waves obey you, so that the storms you're speaking to will obey you. You have to know who you are, and you have to know who Christ is in you, the hope of glory. Because one thing I find amazing is that when Jesus walked on the water, it says that Mark 6 talks about that incident that we talked about earlier. When Jesus walked on the water, it says that they were astonished because they hadn't gained insight from the incident of the loaves. And so I'm telling you, you must allow yourself to have insight and revelation from the previous times you've seen the Lord move supernaturally. If he's did it before, you know he will do it again. It may look differently. You have to allow yourself to have insight and confidence and revelation when you know that God is a God of the miraculous and that he purposes to do the miraculous through you. And so remember, hear the one word, respond to the word in faith, speak to the storms, and exercise your authority. We are never meant to sit back and allow foolishness to happen in our cities, in our families, in our homes, in our businesses, and in our industries. We were never designed to sit and say, "Come, Lord Jesus," because things are bad. We were designed to exercise authority and to bring the kingdom to the spaces and places where stuff is erupting and it appears like hell has an advantage. We have the authority to uproot the gates of hell, demolish every stronghold, and plant the heavens. All right, so I'm going to end it right there. I want to encourage you to be a part of Champion University. If you have never ever considered being a part of Champion University, I encourage you to do it now. Champion University is the mentorship community that the Lord has given me to steward, because he's raising up champions. He's raising up believers who will operate in the miraculous and lead from their faith in the different spheres of influence that God has called us to infiltrate and to dominate. He's called us to plant the heavens. So I encourage you to go to jamalmaxsam.org/cu, where you can get teachings just like this, but we go deeper and I show you how to apply them to your specific situation. Whatever is happening in your life, because it could be a multitude of things that are going on, make sure you take authority and don't allow the enemy to create a perfect storm that would try to swell you and swallow you up, and would try to move in your city and move in this nation. We have authority. We are the ones who control the spiritual atmospheres. And so we must do it. We must take dominion, exercise the dominion that we have been given. And so real quick, I want to give a shout out to the people that's watching live. I see Coach Paul. I see Kiki's Furs Academy. I see my friend Prophet Philip. I was just thinking about you the other day. Shakisha and Pastor April and Patricia, Brittany, Angelia, and Coach T with the red glasses, Christina, Rita, Sandra, and others who are watching whose names I can't see. Ashley, so great to see you. And so everybody who's watching, thank you all so much for watching now. If you're watching on a replay, make sure you comment, you share, you do all the things, because we want the algorithms to push this out so more people can see this and get teaching just like this. And so I tried to keep it short and concise today, because I want you to really have something to think about as you walk out your assignment. Don't be moved by what you see in the culture. Don't be moved by the executive orders. Don't be moved by, the shaking of the nations. Don't be moved by the shaking in the financial industry or in the different businesses. Don't be moved by those things. Don't even be moved by what's touching you personally. Allow the Lord to walk with you, to cause you to do something miraculous as you speak to this thing and operate in your God-given authority. All right, so I love all of y'all. I will see you Monday for our time of prayer at 8:15 a.m. Eastern. Remember this: the power of Jesus is your normal. So live that way and be successful. All right, I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.